do start video just so they can see you, like Saber usually does. Then you'll maximize. And then go share screen. And you'll click just share. And then that's what they see now. They see this screen.
Oh,
So there you go.
all right.
And let me double check. I'm gonna get on the call real quick and make sure that that's the side that they see. It should
Okay.
be.
Yeah, because it's over here. It says your screen sharing.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Oh, I clicked on the wrong. I'm clicking on the Future Capper Mastermind. Excuse me. Pardon me. Okay. Yeah, there you go. So I see. This is what I see.
What do you see? Okay, cool.
So you're all set. So anything that you do, even if you switch the tabs over to command,
Yeah.
they can see. As long as it's on that computer monitor, you're good.
All right.
And you're all set.
Very
And
good.
then- So you can, and they can hear you as well. So just speak, and I'll try and keep it as quiet in here as possible. Do you want me to put like a little note on the door that says like knock before entering or anything?
Nah.
So that way people don't
That's
bother.
all right.
Do you want me to at least prop the door shut a little bit?
Okay.
I'll crack it so that way hopefully people are less likely to barge in and just start talking right away. So let me go use the restroom and then I'll come back and crack the door.
Okay, no problem.
And the only other thing that I can think of is if they start to talk to you and you can't hear them, just turn up your volume on your computer. Like
Okay.
What?
Nobody's on yet. Free. Oh, there's some angle. Zachary, can you hear me?
Yep, I can see you as well.
Okay, good. And somebody else is on there.
It's Katie Crane.
Okay. Oh, hi, Katie.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Hope you are well.
Yes.
All right. Well, it's 1 o'clock, so we'll get started. Hopefully a couple other people will join us, but this class is for the North Carolina buyers forms. Okay, so what I have up, what you see on the screen is I go through zip forms, so that makes me because I can do a blank screen, blank form then. So the first one obviously is the working with real estate agents. And it's important to make sure that you check the appropriate boxes. So basically you want to check all of them because it could be all of them. You could run into dual agency or designated agency. And then obviously if you do a FSBO, then you can check the unrepresented buyer. Okay. And then obviously the patient, the client signs, your buyer signs it, dates it, and then your name is just printed on there. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, but make sure all this is all filled in. And it's as simple as that. Any questions on that? I know that there's a little, it's like a pamphlet or a little sheet of paper that you can give to your client to explain the agencies, but you also have to explain each agency to them, and that's why they're signing this form.
Where do we get the pamphlet from?
There's one on the kwbresources.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the forms and checklist, it's under general forms.
Okay.
Okay.
And then how soon do we have to get this to you? Because I know it's supposed to be like the first
3 days.
3 days. Okay.
Yeah. So any document you have should be submitted within 3 days. Now that's North Carolina law. So we went over that in the team meeting, but yeah, it's a North Carolina law that the documents are submitted within 3 days. And also your buyer or seller should have that form as well within 3 days.
Okay.
Okay. So that's a pretty easy one. Okay, so now.
Sorry, one more question on that
Okay.
one. That one they're signing just regardless of whether you're actually going to enter in an agreement to represent them.
Right, so you want to explain the agency with them, and then you want them to sign that, and it should be signed before they give you any personal information.
Okay.
Like how much money they have to put down on a house or something like that. So remember that one is supposed to be presented at initial contact.
Okay. And if you're filling in for agents, kind of in the situation I am, should I be getting one of those too?
For yourself?
Yes.
So they have one already in place?
They should.
Then that's fine. I wouldn't get another one.
Okay.
Because you're not really representing them, you're just helping them with.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the next form is the buyer agency agreement. And again, this is pretty self-explanatory. A lot of times I get this date up here that's missed. So this is a sentence that says the exclusive buyer agency agreement is entered into on this date between your buyer and then the firm, which is Keller Williams Ballantyne. Don't put your name on here or your team name. It's Keller Williams Ballantyne. Okay. So make sure you get that date up there, and then check what the kind of property they're looking for. Obviously, it's probably most likely is residential. And then you can fill in the general location, and anything else there, but you know, I don't look too much for anything other than residential and then the general location. And then on number 3, obviously is the term of agreement, and you have to have a beginning date here and an end date, either on the first check mark or the second one. Okay, so make sure those are there, because it's not really an agreement if you don't have a beginning date and an end date. And there's 2 end dates, because this is one who will, for buyers who will intend to purchase a single property. So most of your clients will be that. And then the second one is for buyers who may purchase more than one property, which is investors in that. Okay. But make sure you have a beginning and an end date. Number 4 is the compensation of the firm. Usually this is a 0, because unless you want a set, a set price, I've seen it like once or twice that people say, well, you're going to give me $10,000 to do this. But usually it's in B. Okay, so you would put 0 here, and then B would be probably a percentage, and it's usually 3%. You can put whatever you want, but it's usually 3%. Oh, so what I state in here is 3% or as stated in the MLS, because sometimes obviously it's getting to be a lower percentage for buyers agencies now. So it's usually like a 2.5%, some are 2%. So make sure, if you want 3%, then you need to explain to your client that you're expecting them to cover the difference between what's offered in the MLS, which could be 2.5% and 3%. So they'd have to cover that difference. But usually it's as stated in the MLS. Okay. Any questions on that?
No questions from me.
Okay. Every page will be initialed by the buyers and yourself. So that will be on every page. The compensation will be deemed earned under the circumstances during the term of agreement, the assignee. You just read all those. They have to, if you find a property for them, obviously you're going to earn your money. And then this one is if within, some people, it could be any amount. Some people say 60 days to 120 days, any amount you feel is appropriate. After the expiration of this agreement, which is on page 1, like we discussed, they have a protection period. And if the buyer has entered into a contract to acquire any property introduced to the buyer during the term of this agreement by the firm or any other third party, if they have bought that, let's say you showed them a FSBO and they didn't want it at the time, and then your agreement didn't expire, or it did expire, and then let's say your agreement expired, and then 30 days later they bought that house that you showed them. Well, you have a right to that because it's like a protection period. Now, if your agreement has expired and they've signed on with another agent, and so they have an executed agreement, then you can't come after them for money. Okay, only if it's after that 60 days after the expiration, or however many days after the expiration. If they buy something that you've showed them and they don't have another agreement in place, then you have the right to that a compensation. Okay. And then all these other things, you just read all those over, but that's the most important one. Okay. Obviously, you tell them that there's other potential buyers, or that could be for the same property that they're bidding on. And then you need to explain our duties is to, you're gonna disclose all material facts, and you're going to have them you're gonna be their fiduciary. And so you're gonna be honest, as honest as you know how. Obviously, you don't want to get into the material fact lore, I guess, and have that be an issue. Okay. The paragraph 3 or 13, the firm has the buyer's permission to disclose the buyer's name. And I mean, if they want it, I've not heard of obviously they're going to be exposed to the buyer's name if they put an offer in on the property. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Okay. And then this will be just make sure you talk to them about the non-discrimination thing when they're in, obviously when they're in bold, it's more important. And then everything within the red squares are warnings. So this one is pretty new, that explains that we can't give you any more, I know Sabre called them love letters, meaning with your offer, you write a letter to the owner, say, oh, we just love your house. We can see you. We can see us living here and enjoying life and all that stuff. I'm guilty of it. I've done it in the past before this came out. So I did the same thing. And so those are not allowed anymore because it's kind of a discrimination thing, and it kind of leads the seller, and you can't do that. So no more, as Sabre calls them, love letters. Okay. And then this goes through the buyer's duties, and it's just working exclusively with the firm and being available for, to look at properties, and helping out with the negotiations and the due diligence and all that, and getting inspections and so forth. So that's their duties. Okay. And then if other professional advice, if they want that, they'd have to contact a lawyer. Okay. Down here is that you want to give them a sample copy of the offer to purchase, also a copy of the brochure question and answers on home inspections, and a sample copy of the professional services disclosure. So that should be given to them upon presenting them with this agreement. And then you would check these boxes. Those 3 forms also are found in KWB resources in the general forms. Okay. So all you would have to do is download them and send them to them, or print them out and hand them to them. So, and then those boxes should be checked.
Got
And
it.
number 11 is the home warranty. You can stop me anytime if you have questions. Number 11 is the home warranty. Obviously, if you want the seller, if you want the seller to pay for it, the fee of, then put the amount in, and your agent should help you with amounts. I don't know what, they vary, and I know they're going up to like $600 now, I think, for a year. And usually the buyer wants the seller to pay for that. Okay. And confidentiality of offers, we can't obviously disclose any material facts or terms, I should say, and the price from other people, obviously. Additional provisions is for if you want the I don't know what that would be, like if you want the washer, or no, that's in the offer. Additional provisions could be I guess the compensation amount could be in there. If the firm, asks for 3%, the buyer is willing to pay the difference between what is offered in MLS and the stated amount. So just usually that's nothing in there for in the buyer agency. And if there's no other provisions, you put NA. Okay. Don't leave any spaces blank. Obviously, this number 14 is all about the dual agency, and you have to explain again to them about the dual agency. Dual agency is if you have a listing and you're bringing your contracted buyer, then you're the dual agent. Okay, so it's one agent doing both sides of the deal, doing the listing and the buying. That's a dual agency. So you really want them to authorize that, just in case that happens. You also want them to authorize the designated agent option. And the designated agent option is when, let's say you brought a buyer to one of the homes that's also listed with KW Ballantyne, different agent. So if they want to deal with that, then that's a designated dual agency. Designated dual agency, it used to be that when this happens, that SABRA, the BIC would assign one agent to do the buyer and one agent to do the listing. So that's why the word designated is in there. And because that's basically what that means. But it is two agents doing each side of the deal at the same office. Okay, so that would happen a lot with all the agents we have in this office. That happens quite frequently. So you definitely would want them to initial there. It says initial only if applicable, but it could be. So rather than having to take it back to them later on and have to resubmit this, I just have them do it right away. If they do not want this on the authorization for dual agency, if they don't want both, if they don't want you to act as a dual agent, and they initial the second line, then they can't authorize designated agency. Okay, so they have to be one and the same. So they can't initial the second line if they're going to initial this one. And then basically with this one, if they don't authorize this, you can't really show them homes for designated in the same office. Okay. But you would have to go back and have them initial that they authorize it and then they authorize the designated. Okay. So again, indeed, and I see this a lot, doing compliance. I see that they initial all 3 of these. So that can't be, it's only 2. In this, in D, is 2 separate statements. One is to authorize it, and one is to not authorize it. Okay, so you can't have them sign both or initial both. So when you're doing DocuSign, when you're getting the forms ready for them to sign, you could, if this automatically fills in with the initials, you could actually take this middle one out and kind of drag them over to the left in DocuSign, and that would just take out that option for them. Okay. Any questions on that?
No questions.
Okay. Okay. I'm sharing the office with Liz, so she has to say, she's doing a couple things, so.
Hi, Liz.
Bye.
So, and then number 14F, since they, it's assuming they initial that they authorize dual agency, then you would want to tell them what your compensation amount would be with dual agents. That means obviously you have the listing, so you already have determined what your compensation is for that, your commission amount. So for, you know, usually it's 6% unless you do something different. Okay. But fill all those out. And then the next is the wire fraud. This is the surveillance. So the surveillance means that you got to tell them with all the new technology going on that it could be, there's going to be cameras all around the house, and then you want to, usually those cameras have a microphone on them now. So you want to tell them, don't disclose any information while you're in the house, because you don't want to say, don't tell them, oh, they've made if they say that the house is underpriced, well, then you probably won't be considered for the offer. So to have them watch what they're saying in the house. You don't want them to say anything negative either about anybody, but you have to warn them that it could be happening. Okay. And then the wire fraud, you want to make sure you have this. This is in North Carolina only, that it's on the buyer's agency agreement, which is nice because then you don't have to have a separate form like we do in South Carolina. Okay. Just warn them of the risks of wire transfers. So, when you're going through this, you want to make sure that everybody, you want them to know this this form, all the wording in it. So you need to know it. Okay. Now, on the last page, well, page 6, you want to print out the buyer's name, have them sign it, and make sure it's dated. Okay, I'll call them, I'll return them to you if they're not dated for sure. And then this is important because I get this, I can't tell you how many times I get this. Sabre wants their email address, a phone number, I don't care which one, and the address, the mailing address, which is their current mailing address, not the new one that they're going to purchase, but the current one. Okay, so all three of those have to be on here. Now, if they have two buyers, it only needs to be on one. You don't have to repeat the whole thing. But make sure all three of them on. If your buyer is an entity, as in a trust or an LLC, I get a lot of these with the investors that are flooding the market with buying all these homes. So if they are an entity and you have it on page 1, it says, SFR LLC or something like that. Then you want to put their name, the corporation name here. And then by is the, I guess the name of the, the name of the person signing, okay? And then the date. So then the name of the person is printed here. This is the signature line. The name of the person is printed here and their title. So don't forget the title here, okay? And again, then we need the email, a phone number, and the complete mailing address, okay? And then with LLC or trust or partnership or whatever kind of corporation it is, like I said, even with trusts and POAs, we need the documentation along with that to prove that they are a valid signer for the LLC, okay? And you just ask them for it, just say, I need proof that you're a valid signer. So, and it's usually just a couple pages of the entire LLC. But we'll need that with every entity buyer, okay?
Got it.
Okay, and page 7 then is just our information. So you want to put, obviously, the firm name is Keller Williams Valentine. The firm license number is C13291. And then the firm phone number is 704-887-6600. Okay, so those two numbers that I just gave you belong up here. And the address, we put our address here, 3430 Torrington Way. Your signature goes here. Your license number goes here. And the date that you signed it. Then put your agent phone number here. Not too many people have faxes. And then your email goes here. So make sure all those are filled in. And then submit that within 3 days of signing. Does anybody have any questions on that?
No questions.
Okay. Zachary, no?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Right. Let's go down to the offer to purchase. Okay. Offer to purchase, obviously, once they say, oh, let's submit an offer and get all the details. This is it. It's form number 2T. Standard form 2T. And this is the offer to purchase contract. This is for the residential and whatever. There's another one, a different one for vacant land in that. Okay. Seller's name.
I've got a quick question.
Okay.
If the house on the property is uninhabitable, would that still be on a 2T?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So you've got up here your seller's name. Where do you find that? Property tax information. So you go into the MLS, bring up that property tax information, and most everything that you'll need is right there. Okay, so get the seller's full name. If there's a second one, obviously put that there. And then your buyer's full name. And if there's a second one, put that there. Obviously, the street address, the cities, and the zip code and the county. Don't forget the county. And then with the legal description, you don't have to worry about the plat reference. We don't use that. So the PIN or other identification number, you can get that also with the tax property tax details or property details in the tax search. Okay. Other description, it could be, I always put the legal description and then the number. And then you can get this also on that same page is the deed book number and a page number. Okay. So fill in all, as much of that as you can. Okay. Obviously, you're going to put the purchase price here. How much due diligence are they going to give and how are they going to pay it? It should be delivered to the seller by the effective date. So as soon as that seller signs, you got to have that check to them. Usually, it's within that same day. So, and then how are they going to pay that? This is something new, the electronic transfer, and that could be like Zelle or Venmo or whatever. So check the appropriate one, how they're going to get it to them. Okay. And then the earnest money, the initial earnest money deposit, again, how are they going to give it to the escrow agent? And then it says either by the effective date, which is the date that it's signed, you'll have that check over to the attorney or whoever's holding the escrow, or within 5 days. Okay. So of the effective date of this contract, it doesn't say 5 business days. It just says 5 days. Okay. And I'll usually check that one just to give me some leeway in case I can't get it to them right away. Okay, and then obviously the same thing if there's any additional earnest money or anything else. So you've got the amounts of the due diligence, of the earnest money deposit. If there's additional earnest money deposit, if not, put 0, 0, 0, 0. And then obviously it's the balance. So it would be the purchase price minus those two, and the balance would be due. Okay. I think it automatically subtracts, but I'm not sure. Otherwise, make sure it's accurate. Okay. Again, this buyer and the seller should initial each page. Okay. Earnest money deposit, and it said, obviously you have to explain to them how the earnest money will not be refunded usually, but no, the due diligence won't be refunded usually. Earnest money deposit will be refunded if canceled. The escrow agent, this is the person who's going to hold the earnest money. Usually it's the attorney, the closing attorney. We do not hold earnest money here at this office. So it's not going to be us. But it could be, it could be another, if Alan Tate holds it or something, they can hold it, but usually it's an attorney. It cannot be to be determined. Okay. So if you're going to send a check, the escrow agent is going to be an attorney or they don't know who it is, you want to pick an attorney. That can always be changed. So don't worry if it's not accurate or if they change their mind. But you have to, just tell them they have to name an attorney, okay? And if they don't know, you can give them a choice. Usually they said, oh, just use whoever you want. And, just tell, but you always have to give them a choice of two or three. Okay. So you just explained the due diligence fee. The effective date is when both parties sign. Okay. You want to make sure you put the due diligence period. Usually it's at least 3 weeks. And obviously during that time, you're going to get all the inspections and repair quotes and everything like that. Okay. And it expires through whatever date you put, 5 p.m. And they always write time is of the essence. Okay, so that's the due diligence period. Then you have the settlement. That's when everything's got to be in. And the settlement date, which is the closing date, you want to choose that. And that would be 1 to 2 weeks after the due diligence period. Okay. Remember now, the repairs don't have to be done by closing. It just has to be scheduled and everything. Okay. The closing, I thought this changed. I thought somebody said 7 days, but I think it's changed. Let me look. But it shows reasons why it could be closed or why it could be delayed. I'm sorry, I don't know that. I thought last I heard it was 7 days. Do you guys know any different?
I'm not going to speak like I'm an expert on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it said 7, but I think it's 7 days. Okay. So remember that the parties should not assume that an item will or will not be included in the sale based on oral or written statement. Buyer and seller should be specific when negotiating what items will be included or excluded from this sale. Make sure you know that. The fixtures, of course, the permanent fixtures are included, and this is the list of them then on the next page. Okay. Obviously, anything attached to the wall is a fixture, and they can state in items are leased or not owned, or items that do not convey. That should have been in the MLS sheet, that it's the items that don't convey, and then you put those put down those items. And leased or not owned would be like it says security systems or antenna or satellite dishes and that. Then that should be included there. And again, you can either call the listing agent and ask, or a lot of times it's on the MLS sheet. Okay. Now this is where you want to include, okay, the refrigerator that was shown in the garage, that was seen in the garage at time of showing. The ideal thing would be to get that model number and put that on there. So if you want the refrigerator, that has to be under personal property. Washer, dryer, personal property. They don't like you to put anything like swing set or stuff like that. That's kind of a afterthought. Okay, so just like major appliances and that. Okay.
Got it.
So this is obviously they're encouraged to conduct the due diligence during the due diligence period, and that means getting the inspections, any inspections you have, surveys, all that. So I would leave allotted room for due diligence now because those people are behind, I guess. So it's taken several weeks to get like a survey, and I don't know how it is with inspections, but I've heard that surveys and stuff like that are they're booking pretty far out. So, but yeah, encourage them to get obviously an inspection, a general inspection. That might include radon. It might include it could include the termite inspection and all that. But those are the things you do during due diligence. Okay. And obviously during that time also finalize the loan. Okay. So this is also the property investigation. Like they review all the documents, like make sure you have a copy of the HOA documents that they need in case they want to build a fence and they're not allowed in the community or something. You need to let them know that. So the inspections, the review of all the documents, make sure they know the cost of the insurance and get that lined up. They'll have to pay for an appraisal. And that's usually with the loan company, the mortgage company would schedule that. Okay. It's strongly encouraged that they get a survey. So that's another, I think that's about $500 to get that. Make sure you know the zoning and government regulations about the property. Flood, make sure they know if it's in a flood zone or not. And the utilities, obviously, is it sewer, septic, and that you're going to look at that form as well. And if the properties are on a privately maintained street, that's usually in a condo, or like condos or townhomes developments. Make sure there's no special assessments that they'll have to pay for. And the fuel tank, again, is pretty important to know as well. And if there is a fuel tank, that's a big thing. You want to get that inspected to make sure it's not leaking. Okay. Anyway, just go through all this, the repair, you basically are buying the property as is, unless you negotiate some repairs with the seller. Okay. Just make sure that you then you can negotiate, obviously, for the repairs. Okay. And they have a right to terminate during the due diligence for any or no reason. And but they, like explain that they will not get their due diligence back, but they'll get the earnest money back. Okay. And the buyer, make sure you let the seller know how they're going to pay for this check, cash. And then you would have to add proof of funds. Okay. And then if they're going to have a loan, then is it FHA, conventional? How is their loan? And you can put the information in there. Okay. Okay, so the other property, if they have another property to sell, there's no contingency addendum in North Carolina anymore. But it's kind of on here now, okay? If they do have other property for sale, put their address and check that it does. And then check this if it's already under contract. Okay, and then check what's appropriate. You would probably want a longer due diligence period to give give their property time to sell. Okay, that was talked about when they first did away with all the contingency addendum. That you want to prolong the sale or the due diligence period so that they have time to sell. Okay. And then if it doesn't sell, they can still back out without losing their earnest money. Okay. Now, usually on the MLS, you have the property disclosures and the mineral oil gas rights that are in there. Make sure you give that to them before they even do an offer, submit an offer, because you want them to review that. So this should say they have received. I mean, obviously, if there's none in there, you don't have that, then you say you haven't received them. Okay, so just be honest on that one. The exemptions for the owners for the property disclosures, obviously new construction, an estate. If it is exempt and you check that, make sure you tell me why it's exempt. Okay. Same thing with mineral oil gas. They received it, they haven't received it, or it's exempt. Okay. You guys doing good?
Yep.
Okay. Let them know what their responsibility, their costs are. And a lot of times people, you can put the sellers or the buyer's net sheet. You can figure that out. That's done in the matrix as well. Make sure you check everything that needs to be checked. So, check the appropriate box here. If there's lead-based paint, obviously before 1978, then you check that, and you'll have to have the lead-based paint addendum from the seller. And this one is the association, owners association. If they have that, include as much as you can on that. And if there's only one, just check one. Okay. A lot of times they have two. One for I've seen it. I've run across it twice. One's for one of them was for just the outdoor maintenance, and then the other was for everything else, like the pool maintenance and that. So sometimes they have two. And then just they would the seller explain to them what the seller's obligation is, and then the authorization to disclose information. That's just normal stuff. And then access to the property, that you get to access the property prior to closing, just to make sure everything's still the same as when you saw it last. Okay. this all talks about the title and the deeds and the taxes. You want the deed made out to, and you want to put their full name and how they're gonna put it on the deed. If they don't know, then it's put at the discretion of the attorney. But usually it's their full names. So. This is agreement to the buyer's expense. This is when they ask the seller to pay some of the closing costs, and then any amount. If it's nothing, then put 0, please. Okay. And then these are all the other little things that could come up, the association fees, the charge, a special payment for special assessment. They want the seller to pay that, late listing penalties, and then all the repairs and that. Obviously, the taxes and the rents, if any, or association dues are prorated upon closing. Again, if the no home warranty is to be provided by the seller, check that. Or the buyer may obtain a home warranty, and then which includes sales tax, and seller agrees to pay for it at settlement. Boom, push that, put that. Or if the seller has already attained the home warranty, then complete that one. Okay. And this is the delay set. Let me read this here. 7 days. Here it is. So if you put down March 4th, or I should say May 4th, then you can extend it without penalty or without having anything to do in writing, up to May 11th. Okay. And if not, I'll show you the form to change that. Obviously, you want to make sure you keep in contact with the listing agent for that. And then check all the appropriate, if there's any. And so if the seller, this one's common now, since it's harder to find a home, the seller possession after closing, then you'll check that, make sure that's included in here. A lot of times, additional provisions, we'll go over that a little bit too. But if any of these are checked, then they need to be included with your with this offer to purchase. Okay. And I look for them as well when I do compliance. Okay. And this is just, how to conduct the transaction and the computation of the days, and then remedies. There'll be attorney fees or whatever. This is just standard stuff. Just explain to them. Okay, then your buyer would sign here, end date. Seller signs here and dates. So buyer notice address, we don't fill this out because we don't want to disclose especially like the buyer's address, in case of, that's kind of protecting their privacy. So don't put anything up there, but the confirmation of agency addresses, definitely put those there. Okay. So if these are the same addresses, yeah. So if these are the same firms, Keller Williams Ballantyne, Keller Williams Ballantyne, and it's a different agent, then you'll need to check there. Okay. Check at the acting as designated agent. Okay. If not, if they're two different firms, two different agents, this one will be the seller's agent and this will be this buyer's agent. Okay. If it's you doing both sides of the transaction, then you would be the dual agent here and here. Okay. Do you
Got
all
it.
get that right? Because I got to
Mhm.
send them back a lot for this one too. So make sure if it's two different agents, same office, it's designated dual agent. And what I'll do, if those are checked and or I see that they're dual or designated agent, I will go back to the buyer's agency agreement and make sure that those two things have been authorized. Okay. If not, then I have to send that back and have them authorized. Okay. And fill in as much as you can. You can get, if you're the buyer's agents, if you can get the listing agent's information off of MLS, all you would do is once you're in MLS, then you want to search and it says agent down there. Okay, so search for the agent and then all his information will come up. Okay. And obviously, this is the acknowledgement of receipt. Make sure you have both the seller and buyer's name and the property address. And then they sign. If you sign it, you have to have your buyer sign it, or this would be seller. So if you're the selling agent and got the due diligence fee, sign it, but also have the seller sign it. If you're the buyer and and you gave that due diligence to the listing agent, have the listing agent sign that. They may or may not give you a copy of the seller's signing, but that's acceptable. And then the escrow agent would sign here. Excuse me. Any questions on that?
None from me.
Okay. Moving on. Let's go to the property disclosures. Obviously, this is what you'll get from the MLS. If not, ask the listing agent for it. Sometimes with the FSBO, they don't have that, so you would want to present that to the seller and say you need to fill this out. This should already obviously be filled out, the property address and the owner's name, and the owner should have signed it. And then your buyer would sign it, review all that, and initial each page. I always am a little weary of when it's all no representation. Because it's like, well, what are you hiding? But don't, it's up to your buyer. Any questions on that?
None for me.
Okay. Mineral oil, gas rights, same thing. These should all either say, well, no representation is here only on statements 1 and 4. Because they don't know, this is by a previous owner. If they don't know, it would be no representation. The others are if the seller, for the seller only. So they should know. If it's a yes in here, I would question the listing agent, because that could affect title. If any of these are checked yes, for some reason, it can affect title. Okay. But your buyer would then initial each statement that they've, they understand it, and sign. That's an easy one. Lead-based paint. Okay, so this should be filled out obviously by the buyer or the seller, I mean. Should have the property address. If it doesn't, make sure the listing agent knows that it needs to be up there. Then you put your buyer's name in here. The seller should have filled this out. And then the buyer, you need to have them initial C, D, and E. And then obviously they need to have that check mark in here in one of the statements. It's either they accept the opportunity to conduct the risk assessment or they waive the opportunity. They can't do both. So just have them check one of those, how they want to handle that. Then they initial and then sign it. And then you sign it. Okay, so this is one of the forms that you need to sign as well. Okay. If you've gone along, let me just do this first. This is the septic or sewer. Couldn't get that out. This is a septic or sewer and water agent discovery. This form can be found also in KWB resources under general forms. And she wants you to use this one now because we're now confirming the water connection and the sewer connection. Usually it's for both. And this is one you're going to fill out on your own and you're going to do your own verification. Even if the seller has already done it, even if the listing agent is from the same office and has already done it. No, we want you to do it yourself, okay? So make sure you put the property address up here. You either have a recent utility bill from the seller attached, or you've called the city or county utilities department. If it's in Mecklenburg County, you can call 311. And then just answer, is it or is it not available? And is it or is it not connected? Same with the sewer. Who did you talk? What date did you call? Who did you talk to? And where? And where did you call? If you called 311, just put 311 there. If you called Charlotte Mecklenburg Utilities, put that in there. But that needs to be filled out. That's if it's the city water or the county. If it's like a HOA and the HOA community water and sewer, it's usually, with a, then you do the same thing. Is it connected? Is it available or is it not connected? And then what date did you call? Who did you talk to? And what company is it from? And then the recent invoice from the provider is or is not attached. Okay. Don't fill out both of these. It's only the city or county or the community. Okay. And then don't fill out any if they have a private septic and or well. Okay. So there's a little thing here, you initial by there, you affirm that a copy of the septic permit is attached. And then how many bedrooms did allow. So you call, what you do, you need to call the county health department, environmental health services department, and they can tell you if there's a copy of the permit. I think I just looked up city permits and I found one there. But if you, and then you just print it out and attach it. So you would check this one. Copy of the septic permit has been obtained and a copy is attached. Okay. If they say, okay, we can get that to you, then you check this one, and then just tell me where you called, what county you called. Or if it's not available per, you called someone in the county on such and such a date. Okay. As a buyer's agent, you would sign here. So you need the buyer's agency or agent to sign here. And then you need your buyer to sign that you've disclosed this to them. Okay. So if you're the listing agent, it's only you that need to sign it. Okay. Is that, do you understand that one?
Yes, got it.
Yep, same here.
Okay. Two new forms that have come across, and this is for every buyer agency, is the affiliated business disclosure, because Heritage Title is now in our offices, and it's kind of, we have a business relationship with them. We're affiliated with them somehow. Don't ask me how, but anyway, it's something fairly new. So this needs to be filled out. Obviously, you just put the buyer's name and the property address. And this is, you're just telling them that, we have a monetary interest in this company. Okay, you have to disclose that. And then they sign it and date it. Simple as that. Okay. Any questions on that one? But this needs to be for every buyer agency. And then the second one, obviously, is the title selection form. Basically, it's the same thing. You received, this is for the RESPA notice that we are disclosing that has an interest in a title agency, Heritage Title. They put your buyer's name and the property address there, and then they can choose. If they have a certain title company that they want to use, they can do that here. If they, they want to be referred to Heritage Title, that's fine. This is what I see the most, is I would like my closing agent or attorney to be whoever. And usually, a lot of times the closing attorney will choose the title company. Okay. But they have to complete this form. And then fill this out, the buyer's signature and date, and then their current mailing address, and phone number, and then your name. Okay. Again, those forms are found in KWB resources. Let me see. Let's say you had an agency agreement for 3 months, and 3 months have come and gone, and they haven't found anything, but they want to continue to work with you. You don't need to fill out a full buyer's agency agreement, but you do need this form, the agency agreement renewal. So your client and the firm, okay, firm's name, and then it's going to be, you would check the buyer agency agreement here and what date you signed into that agreement. And then you don't have to fill out a property address because you don't have one yet. So they agreed to renewed and extend the buyer agency agreement up here until 11/59 on a such and such a date. Okay. anything. And so that's pretty simple. That's all you need to do on the buyer agency. Obviously, if you had a listing, you would want to, you could do price change, you would put the property address and all that, but anyway, so you want to have them sign, and then you sign down here. Okay. Does that make sense? No questions on that one either?
No, sorry. Don't you love these Zoom calls where you can't see us emote and watch you talk?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, are you still there?
I promise we're here.
Yeah, I know. What else? If you want to terminate the contract, just check the appropriate name, get the address. Effective date of the contract was, and then pick your option. Usually it's because, well, where is it? Not satisfied with the loan or whatever it is. Well, when they took that one out, they could do it right. They can do it during the due diligence period. That's not it. Anyway, just pick the most appropriate one and have them sign it. This time you do need their current mailing address. And then over here, it's because it's the release of the earnest money. So the seller then gets this, and he's giving you permission, I guess, to release the earnest money. And then that would be sent to this address. So that's why you need the address in there. Oh, that's, you know why? That's a new construction one. There's another offer to, or the same thing. It just says about the due diligence period. Do you guys have any questions? We kind of got done early.
Not so far. No, I think you pretty much covered everything.
Okay.
And I'm sure the questions will come with the first offer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So, just the most important thing is make sure you know the contract so you can explain it to your clients that, what's going on with it.
When you were starting, is there a good way that you learned it? I mean, my thought is just like read it every day or.
Yeah. Just reread it.
Okay.
And especially right before you go on to your appointment, make sure you know it. And you can even do like a blank form and highlight the important things.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So, yeah, other than that, I just tell them that there's a bunch of forms coming that they have to sign. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it, guys, for the North Carolina buyers.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Carla.
You're welcome.
Yes,
And,
you.
I'm here. If you guys need me, let me know.
All right. Thank you. You all have a good
Okay.
holiday weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks, you guys too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.